Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Gym Challenge Sunday Summer version, number one. Here I am with Jesus, and I'm Abu.
Yeah, we are here, and we finally made it here to top cut of this tournament here when we got an interesting batch of 8 people that are either looking to make sure their first win or make sure that they're known as the dominance as they are in the SoCal region. And our first top cut match is actually going to be 2 people that have yet to be on the stream today, as we're going to start our first quarterfinal between Brendan Baker on the screen and Shane Gaffney.
Yeah, so I mean, Brendan Baker and Shane Gaffney, they're two, they actually do attend the events a lot, right? I mean, over here as a local scene, we know them very well. We know them as pretty strong players. But first of all, going over their team, right? I mean, one seems very hyper offensive, as you can see on Brendan's side, with a lot of the very heavy and fast hitters, right? Like with Chiyu, Fluttermane, Tornadus, and Jianpao or Shifu, right? But meanwhile, Shane's team is a lot slower, but it focuses on screens getting set up with Goldengo or any of his other partners and cleaning up in the late game after he's established a really good board position. So it seems like it's going to be a very interesting clash of styles. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting case between both these teams. Like, one's very like offensive focused, while the other one's more bulk focused. As we're going to see both these teams, Urshifu Rapid Strike, Basque Legion, Jianpao, Chiyu, Fluttermane, Tornadus Incarnate for Brendan, and for Shane, it's an Urshifu Rapid Strike of his own, Grimmsnarl, Iron Bundle, Amoonguss, Iron Hands, and Goldengo.
Yeah, and again, they have a few of the same Pokemon, but I mean, actually more like one Pokemon in between them. Yeah, I mean, this is going to turn out to be a very interesting match, and let's get into it.
Yeah, we're going to get into game number 1 here, our first quarterfinal matchup between these 2 trainers here. I wonder what these leads are going to be. I was assuming Grimmsnarl leads somewhere within Shane's side, and we're going to see Iron Hands and Grimmsnarl come out from Shane, and Brendan's going to go ahead and leave Fluttermane Chiyu here, as we're going to see what gets set up here with the Speeds of Ruin on this Chiyu side. Go ahead and lower the special defense stat of all Pokemon in play. We do see a booster energy of Fluttermane, and it is a special attack booster.
Yeah, so it's actually probably going to be a really defensive turn for Shane here, because he's probably going to go maybe for like a fake out into the Chiyu, with the Chiyu being grass, right? So it's either going to have to protect or go switch out, right? And he's probably going to go for a light screen here, because he is very threatened on the special end by both of these Pokemon here. So I think we could expect like a fake out light screen from Shane. A little bit of a passive turn, but he gets his stuff up. But meanwhile, Brendan's actually gonna go full offense here. Let's see how this goes. If he can withstand the Fluttermane Chiyu onslaught. Quite a powerful duo here.
Yeah, we are gonna see the terrestrialization of Fairy type going for Baker, as he does have to beat the Ruin and a special attack booster, so it's likely going to be that he one-hit KOs one of these 2 Pokemon. We don't see a fake out though. We see the light screen come out from this Grimmsnarl. We're going to see the Dazzling Gleam come out. I think the Grimmsnarl might still be prone to a one-hit knockout here. Here comes the Dazzling Gleam. Actually, both Pokemon survive relatively comfortably. Heat Wave going to pick the knockout on the Grimmsnarl with a critical hit, and then the Iron and then the Iron Hands is going to comfortably survive. Do we see a Drain Punch come out? No, we just see a Heavy Slam.
Wow, and that was actually a very good play by Shane there, right? He went for the aggressive play with the Iron Hands. It was a little rough, but he gets a really good trade onto a really large threat onto his own team. So right now, I mean, it's damaged, but he has gotten rid of a really big threat here, and you know, Chiyu, it is vulnerable to a lot of things on Shane's team here. So let's see what he comes out. So Tornadus comes out, and Shane sends in Urshifu. So yeah, this is what I kind of expected, right? I mean, puts a lot of pressure on the Chiyu, but the thing is with this Tailwind potentially coming out from the Tornadus, it's going to be a little rough for Shane here.
It is, because his Iron Hands is prone to a knockout from this Chiyu, but also this Urshifu, if it's left unchecked because of that Terragon, this Chiyu does not have access to Terra Blast anymore. So I could just see this Urshifu going in this turn unscathed, especially with that Focus Sash going in to go for something like that Searching Strikes into the Chiyu slot, or it could just force Brendan to go for Bleak Wind Storm on his Tornadus to make sure that break that Focus Sash, get that attack off on that Urshifu, because both these Pokemon do outspeed Urshifu.
Yes, and that's true, right? But I mean, again, the pressure is pretty on, right? I mean, I think with the light screen up, we don't really know if that Urshifu will take like a double up or something, right? So over he switches into the Basket Legion, and see what Tornadus goes for here.
First is the Terrestrialization though for Shane, and I think this might be Urshifu in the water type, yep, to get rid of that flying type weakness that he would have suffered if Brendan did go for that Bleak Wind Storm.
Yeah, and this is about to do huge damage to whatever it goes into, right? Or Surging Strikes, Terra Water Surging Strikes is no joke. So let's see how much, and if it goes in the Basket Legion...
Oh, no, he went after the Chi-Yu with the close combat, gonna get heavily punished by hitting into a Ghost type, as Wild Charge is enough to take the one-hit knockout onto the Tornadus here, and I have to wonder if Shane thought that Chi-Yu was just gonna stay in there, but Surging Strikes felt much safer than close combat.
Yeah, and I agree. But I'm guessing he went for that close because he went for that close combat, thinking he might be Terra grassing or something, you know. So that was a relatively safe play here. But I mean, he ends up coming out like on top in that situation, right? I mean, he has a Pokemon lead now, and Urshifu hasn't really taken any damage, and this Iron Hands is just still sitting here.
Yeah, Urshifu was yet to take damage because of that punish play. I mean, the fact that the Basket Legion got in here for free, Chi-Yu does go for the Heat Wave. This does not have the Iron Hands. Urshifu going to take a considerable amount of damage here. No burn, though. So the Urshifu is going to get a clean shot with the Surging Strikes. No, actually, Basket Legion's going to be faster here with the last respects, and it's enough for a knockout.
Oh, and that's really huge, right? Basket Legion being faster. Now, Shane, I believe, has only one Pokemon left, and it all depends on what he has here, right? I mean, he does still have the light screen up, so he maybe could take some hits, but it is just a Mungus. It is a good Pokemon, but without a partner, not really. So I mean, this is kind of gonna wrap up the game here. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, nothing this Mungus could really do here. But I mean, I think both players played that really well, right? I mean, Shane did get his Grimmsnarl knocked out very early, which was quite unfortunate, really. But I mean, it's weak. It's really weak to that Terra Fairy Dazzling, especially with the Beads of Ruin. So I mean, it was kind of expected as well. So I mean, it was quite unfortunate. But let's see how he actually adjusts this game, because he played it really. I would say he played really well out of the situation after that Grimmsnarl went down. So I'm sure he could cook up something different, right? Because I mean, the onslaught Brendan's team puts out is very, very pressure heavy, I would say, right? It's very scary. So yeah, there's definitely a few ways Shane could possibly go about it. So let's see how he deals with the situation here. What do you think?
I really do have to come back to that turn where Shane went for a close combat into the Chi-Yu slot, because again, I still think Surging Strikes is a safer bet, because the Fluttermane went for the Terrestrialization turn 1 for that Fairy Terra, which definitely was caught off guard with that Iron Hands going for that Heavy Slam, but eventually it just came down to Basket Legion having a big advantage thanks to that power boost in last respects, because he lost the Chi-Yu, both his Pokemon in the first turn, and that became a base 150 power Ghost type attack, which actually, with the, I mean, now that I actually think about it, the Tailwind actually was up, so we both missed that somehow, and the Basket Legion just was faster because of the Tailwind, and I'm wondering now if Shane goes the same lead, but goes to a different game plan.
Yeah, I think he kind of needs to switch it up, right? I mean, the light screen going up really did help him, right? But I do think the Iron Hand was kind of somewhat of a passive lead, right? It does depend on the bulk he has on his other Pokemon, because I feel like if the Goldengo could possibly take a Heat Wave plus Dazzling, it'll make it work. But I mean, it's weak to both, right? And he might have to like Terra Water or something like that turn 1. It's actually, I would say it's a rough matchup for Shane, but I think he's playing it pretty well.
Yeah, and we're going to see the matchups once again. We're going to see the same lead for Shane. We do see the Grimmsnarl Iron Hands, and we're going to see it differently from Baker. Go ahead and lead the Fluttermane and Tornadus. And the only thing that triggers here is the special attack booster from this Fluttermane. Might be a bit safer for this Grimmsnarl to survive the turn, unless, of course, this Tornadus goes for Bleak Wind Storm.
Yeah, and obviously that is a kind of a move that's prone to miss, right? It being 80% accurate. But I mean, we know for sure if he goes for Light Screen and Heavy Slam here, it will be a trade at least, right? So, Brendan's aware of the pressure this may put on, so I bet you he also wants to kind of play this a little more carefully, right? Because Fluttermane did he did carelessly kind of let the Fluttermane get KO'd last game.
Yeah, it looks like Brendan's I think Brendan's going for a rather passive play. Oh no, he switches it up. He's going for the terrestrialization. Yeah, he's going for just straight up going for the double attack here with the terrestrialization to Fairy.
And like, yeah, and this makes a lot of sense, right? Because that happened last game. So I mean, you did take out the Grimmsnarl. So I mean, if the Bleakwind Storm hits, it might actually just be like the same result here. So let's see how this turns out. Bleakwind Storm still has to hit.
Oh, we do see a Terra from Shane actually coming in here. This might be the Iron Hands Water Terra. And yeah, it is. And I wanted to point out, Water Terra is not that common on Iron Hands. I'm wondering if this is specifically for Urshifu.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it seems like an uncommon Terra, right? But I mean, nowadays, Iron Hands has all 3 Terras, right? There's a joke, it's a good fire, water, and grass Pokemon. So let's see how this Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam comes out. Hopefully Grimmsnarl does survive, but can he survive the follow-up Bleakwind Storm? It does hit both, but it survives. So it survives another day. It can get all of his other support moves off, you know, it having a parting shot and whatnot. So it can actually go for stuff like that, and you know, it can potentially even parting shot some very strong Pokemon like the Basket Legion here, right? So it can weaken its onslaught, but this Iron Hands is really chunky.
I mean, it did take that double hit pretty comfortably,
Yeah.
and just got a speed drop from the Bleakwind Storm. And this Grimmsnarl surviving is actually really detrimental for Shane, because again, you could just go ahead and lower the attack power of this Basket Legion, which I think from this position, I think he could only go for last respects onto the Iron Hands, because even though Aqua Jet is probably enough to take the knockout, I don't know if Grimmsnarl is faster than the Prankster, or if Aqua Jet ends up being faster because of the way both Basket Legion and Grimmsnarl speeds here.
Oh yeah, because they both get +1 on their attacks, right? So, not on their attacks, but on their moves, right? So yeah, it might come down to Basket Legion just getting that Aqua Jet, but he withdraws Iron Hands. This could be a potentially smart play depending on what he goes into. Amoonguss, and that is actually very good. If he last respects into it, that's very good.
Yeah, no Aqua Jet comes out for Basket Legion. That could have been a knockout, but instead he was looking for the Iron Hands, and now I'm wondering if it actually was last respects going into the Iron Hands slot.
But this is actually very good, right? Because I mean, with the parting shot reduction, right? Iron Hands could come out and he resets the fake out. That's very important here. He could get the Tornadus here. The Bleakwind Storm comes out. Amoonguss doesn't actually take that much damage, I would say, right?
Oh my goodness, and another speed drop goes into Iron Hands, just like it never left. And it is going to be that last respects into the Amoonguss with a critical hit!
Critical hit, but I mean, honestly, that was still a good play, because I feel like Shane has identified that his win condition is this Iron Hands here, right? And with it having fake out, with it having this electric type pressure on, it could bring back the game for him. It does depend, though, on what he has in the back with Grimmsnarl. So he could actually go for a similar play again, where he just parting shots the Basket Legion and maybe switches back in the Iron Hands.
Or I think Grimmsnarl could also just go for the Reflect, make sure that Iron Hands actually gets a lot of bulk into its arsenal here.
That too.
Because I'm looking at it right now. It's like, if Brendan has that Urshifu, it is completely safe against it because our Searching Strike's not going to do a lot of damage. But also, the Chi-Yu, I think he has the... Yeah, he's still going for Aqua Jet. That should have been happening last turn. There's the Aqua Jet going to go ahead and take the knockout on Grimmsnarl before anything can happen with the Prankster ability. Going to take a bit more damage with that Life Orb. We're going to see Tornadus miss the Bleakwind Storm.
Yeah, I mean, that trip could potentially be really big, right? Does he go for the Wild Charge into Basket Legion? Yes, he does. Another threat just wiped away, but we do know that Brendan does have this in the back.
Yeah, and I also have to mention, maybe he has maybe this Iron has specifically Water Terror to avoid all the fire types, you know, especially Heatran now everywhere.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure, right? And that actually does have pretty good.
Ooh.
And this is very interesting, right? I mean, we would have to see the turns of Tailwind. That wasn't, unfortunately, I wasn't counting it, but I mean, it should be expiring a little soon, so he can potentially, maybe play this a little passively and see how this goes.
Yeah, and the light screen's still up for Shane here, and Iron Hands will look like it will survive another turn unless a critical hit comes his way. And you know, Dark Pulse looks pretty close to a knockout. I'm not sure if it gets a knockout from that range.
Yeah, and that's very interesting, right? But the thing is he does. I don't think this Urshifu is actually gonna go down because he really doesn't want to target this Urshifu down, right? Because then Iron Hands gets to run amok here. So he goes for the Aqua Jet. Does it KO? No, it doesn't. Let's see what they go for here. He goes for Tailwind because it just petered out. Or actually, maybe it wasn't up.
It was never up.
It was never up.
There's
goes for the Dark Pulse. Duel the Light Screen. Oh, that was very good.
There's a Wild Charge going into the Tornadus. This will be another one-hit knockout. And because this Urshifu is Unseen Fist, this game's over.
Yeah, and then it was very well played by Shane this round, right? And interesting went for the Aqua Jet, but I guess since he did actually have the Focus Sash, right? I mean, even one move was never going off here, so he just goes for the Aqua Jet and probably throws out an attack with Iron Hands, and he gets the game. Well played by Shane here, right? He adjusted very nicely. He
goes for the disrespectful fake out. Okay, I see you. All right. Okay. I also do want to also point out that what was I gonna think? Yeah, that just slipped in my mind. I'm sorry.
No problem, man. It happens. So I mean, yeah, I mean, this is all of a sudden become like a really close set here, right? I mean, while Brendan was in the driver's seat in the first game where he played it really well, right? I mean, he just saw that, hey, he could just take out this Grimmsnarl immediately, but Shane fired back, he adjusted, and it's a really close set now.
That Iron Hands is really what's going to be the problem right now for Brendan, because if he goes for that Terra Water, he needs to expand his Terra on this Chiyu, which I actually remember now. I needed to point out it's actually a leftover variant, so and it's also like I'm looking at his HP stat. I don't think it's trained in HP, so it's interesting to see its leftovers, but it doesn't look bulky unless it's trained very specifically in defense. Well, and that's an interesting walk of 4 that Brendan's thinking about, going with the same lead from game 2. And yeah, I think for Brendan, you have to think about baiting your opponent's Terra.
Yeah, and yeah, he really needs to bait that Terra, right? And also, he could actually potentially do something like, oh no, he doesn't actually have, I was going to say Moonblast, but he actually carries the Substitute instead. So it's not, with Fluttermane also always just being so offensively, like, putting on so much offensive pressure, he doesn't have any single target offensive pressure onto the Iron Hands, right? So it's actually, besides like maybe a Shadow Ball, right? But, so, it's actually very good here that this Iron Hands has to really stay alive in order for him to win this game, right? It seems like Iron Hands just really runs through his team, and he needs to also have a specific conditions for Urshifu to really shine as well. Yeah, so he actually goes with the Chiyu Fluttermane here, the same lead he won game 1 with, pretty much.
And I do see a double attack incoming from Brendan, but it's also could play the same way game 1 did, where Heavy Slam and the Fluttermane always gets the one-hit knockout. But yeah, we're already seeing that Brendan's hovering the Terra, and yeah, he's just gonna go ahead and it's like if he goes for the Terra here, he just goes for it. Yeah,
so I mean, this is very interesting seeing how he's gonna Terra here, right? But I mean, he didn't go for the Terra Grass key, right? He's not necessarily predicting that the Iron Hands is going to go for the water here. So it's really interesting. Let's see how Grimmsnarl is going to take this attack here.
Oh, right? No. Okay, Shane getting go for the Terra. Is it the Grimmsnarl? Let's see. Grimmsnarl's Ghost Terra, so could live a couple of hits, but no, it's going to be Iron Hands to water. Yeah. And that's the Terra perfectly baited. And this would be good if Shane did go for the Drain Punch into that slot, but I pretty much assume it's going to be a Heavy Slam in the Fluttermane.
Yeah, I also think that too, right? And you get the light screen off, right? And crucially, right, this Fluttermane did not Terra Fairy, so this Grimmsnarl could actually possibly live this Heat Wave. Let's see how this goes. Oh! He does live. Very clutch survival here. He could get more support off later on in the game, and he does end up Drain Punching into the Chiyu, but he gets a lot of health back, and he does a lot of sticking power on the field now. So with this Grimmsnarl actually living the exchange now, very importantly, let's see what it could do here. It could go for like parting shots into the Fluttermane, right? I mean, And yeah, I mean, just letting the Iron Hand sit there is not going to be doing good at either.
Yeah, I was also going to point out now that it's Chiyu's Terrasilize in the grass type, it's no longer immune to Prankster, so Parting Shot can just go into the Chiyu slot now.
Exactly, yeah, that is also another thing I failed to I failed to realize there, right? I mean, usually Chiyu does want to protect itself from the Prankster, but I mean, I guess Brendan really thought he'd get the knockout there.
Yeah, and now basically it comes down to what does this Chiyu do here? Because I don't think the Terra Blast is enough to knock out. Ooh, actually, no Protect comes out from Chiyu. Just Grand started to set up a Reflect before it potentially fates to this Dazzling Gleam. I don't know if this Terra Blast takes out the Iron Hands with the Light Screen and the Assault Vest, and that beats a Ruin in play. It might be close. Here it comes, the Terra Blast. It's going to let out that Solar Beam, and here it comes. It is, I don't think it's going to be enough, actually. Yeah, not even close.
Well, I mean, I would say it's relatively close, but he does go for the Heavy Slam here, so he takes out that Flutter Mane. But now the Iron Hands is pretty low, but I believe it can take another Heat Wave. So if he has a Moongus in the back, actually no, it would be immune to Rage Powder. Actually, it would be immune to Rage Powder. So never mind on that one. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, this Iron Hands is kind of in a predicament here. But I mean, if Shane maybe brings Urshifu in, maybe he could pick up a knockout. So let's see how this works out here.
Yeah, we do see the Urshifu come in here. Well, Surging Strikes and Knockout, both are not going to be in range, so if it needs to get a knockout on the Chiyu, it has to be for that close combat. And if we're going to see what this Tornadus can do, I think it'll just go for the tail end to make sure he has the speed control to at least set up that Basky Legion in the back, which is only getting more powerful with every knockout that he gets because of Last Respects.
Yeah, I mean, but keep in mind, this Urshifu is also Focus Sash, right? So it's not really wise to target it down now because so maybe he's expecting the attack into the Iron Hands, right? And from what I remember, he did not put 2 attacks into
that's a Heat Wave into that's a lot of damage to both Pokemon. Might have been a crit on Urshifu based on that damage. It is.
Yes. Oh no, and let's see if this bleak. Oh, and he gets the Surging Strikes off before the Tornadus. Actually, this is and the Tornadus did Tailwind him, might I add, but I mean, so he does get that there, and let's see, he does have that Basket Legion in the back, so it's gonna come down to how he can deal with this Basket Legion here.
Oh,
the Bleakwind Storm misses the Urshifu. That is huge, and the Amoonguss survives. Not enough special attack investment, or maybe it was a roll, but this is actually very huge. Because now Amoonguss could redirect an attack from this Basket Legion, actually. Because it will always move first.
I mean, yes, and now Last Respects is at base 150 power, so... And a lot of Shane's Pokemon are down to low HP, so Bleakwind Storm still an option to get the knockout. The Last Respect's going to knock out basically all of Shane's team if left unchecked, because you cannot close combat it, and I think Surging Strike is doing very little damage.
Yeah, and I think maybe the best play here might actually just to go for the Surging Strikes into the Tornadus here, right? So it is a little rough for Shane here, right? He only has Iron Hands in the back, and I believe his Amoonguss also actually does have the Protect here, so I mean he could double Protect. Yeah, he could double Rage Powder. He does go for the Rage Powder like I was expecting, right? And this Tornadus actually Tailwinds. So actually this is a really big opportunity for this Urshifu to potentially get off a lot of damage. So let's see how much the Surging Strikes does.
As Last Respects does avoid the Rocky Helmet, importantly, make sure it doesn't take any unnecessary damage, as it's already taking a bit of damage from that Life Orb. Surging Strikes into the Basket Legion, yeah, it was not doing a lot of damage.
Oh no, yeah, I mean, into the Basket Legion, that was a little rough there, but I mean, maybe Tornadus would have been a little better here, but I mean, getting that chip is really important, right? And this Tornadus does not have a, it actually doesn't have a Covert Cloak, so I mean there's potential here, but this Basket Legion gonna be faster than both of them. Cannot necessarily knock both of them out, but it all actually depends on whether this Bleakwind Storm actually, well, he could always fake out, but it does depend on whether this Bleakwind Storm hits or not, right? Because
I think this battle is over. Oh, it double connect. That actually does double connect. Knocks out the Urshifu. Iron Hands is going down, and Last Respects at base 150 power should be more than enough to take the knockout onto this Iron Hands. And Brendan Baker advances to the semifinal round, winning this at 2-1 with his trusty Basket Legion.
Yeah, I mean that was a really good set overall. I mean both players adjusted really well. That honestly, I think that this last game came down to like a few predictions here and there. Maybe the surging strikes into like Basket Legion and stuff like that, right? But I mean, well played by both players. I know it was very fun to watch for sure. I was on the edge of my seat for that one.
Quite literally, and that's exactly how Brendan plays to your outs. And remember, everyone at home, you can always pick up inspiration and pick up these regulation D teams from basically watching everyone on stream. You saw various amounts of side spam throughout the entire rounds.
Yeah, a lot of side spam this time around.
Yeah,
I played like I remember I played like 2 or 3 today. It was a lot.
Yeah, but you also have these teams with Tornadoes and Basket Legion, which can take advantage of moves like Class Respects, something that sadly Houndstone was never able to do.
Yeah, and I think it also speaks to like Sand. I would say isn't as viable as Rain right now, right? And not only that, Basket Legion could actually function out of Rain a lot better, but Houndstone can't really do that, right? With Basket Legion, it's pretty bulky, right? It also has just one of the strongest water moves in the game, right? Wave Crash, right? So it doesn't have to always click route, last respect, right? But Houndstone, on the other hand, right? Its only real powerful move is last respects, right? It doesn't really put up much pressure other than that, right? And I think that's what sets Basket Legion a little more apart from Houndstone. So yeah, I mean that's my insight on that, right? But I mean, yeah, it's a very good Pokemon. It's reminds me of it reminds me of a Palafin that you just don't need to switch out, and it's like boosted in Rain with Swift Swim and stuff. Like that's really good. And yeah, so
we don't go anywhere. We're gonna be right back for our semifinal matchup. It's Gym Challenge Summer #1, and we will see you guys shortly.